Welcome back to the deep dive. So we have a stack of research on the desk today that, well, I think it's going to make some people a little uncomfortable.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those words where half the room, leans in and the other half just rolls their eyes and starts checking their email.
Exactly. We're talking about creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I get the skepticism. I really do. Because in a corporate setting, creativity can feel like, I don't know, code for let's sit on beanbags and have a brainstorm with no agenda. It feels soft.
But the source material we have today, Evaluating Your Creativity, second edition by Steve Diasio, it just takes a sledgehammer to all that fluff.
It has to,
It
right?
absolutely has to. I mean, if you look at the macro data, the World Economic Forum lists creative thinking as a top-tier survival skill for the workforce.
Wow.
It's right up there with complex problem solving. So, if you're rolling your eyes at creativity, you might actually be endangering your career.
That's the hook right there.
Yeah.
We're not talking about art. We're talking about professional survival.
But the problem, and it's a big one, is that most of us have just a terrible definition of what creativity actually is.
Yeah, we think it's a binary thing. You're either born to paint the Sistine Chapel or you're born to, I don't know, fill out spreadsheets.
The lightning bolt myth.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea that creativity is some magical gift that's just bestowed on a few chosen people.
Right.
And what's so fascinating about Diasio's work is that he treats creativity like a mechanic. It's a system. It's a muscle you can test and measure and build up.
So just like coding or public speaking.
Exactly.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to strip away the mysticism. We're going to look at Diasio's framework, focusing on the first of his 4 pillars, the creative person.
We're going to audit your brain.
Yeah, we're going to break down the mental blocks that are killing your ideas, and we'll look at a really interesting model, the 4 C's, that explains why you might feel like an imposter.
And we'll finish with a practical exercise that, believe it or not, links drawing circles to your actual job search strategy. It's a pretty packed agenda.
Okay, let's jump in. So the book starts with this concept of the 4 pillars. You have the person, the environment, the process, and the product. Why focus so hard on just the person today?
Because you can have the best environment in the world. I mean, you can have the open plan office, the whiteboards, the unlimited espresso.
All the toys.
All the toys. But if the operator, the person, doesn't understand their own creative mechanism, none of it matters.
It's like buying how to Ferrari and not knowing how to drive stick.
Precisely. And the first step in learning to drive, according to this text, is the creativity audit. And I know audit is probably the least sexy word in the English language.
It sounds like the IRS is coming from my imagination. Now, please present your receipts for that daydream you had last Tuesday.
It does, but the metaphor is actually perfect. When the IRS audits you, what are they doing? They're looking at the raw data to find the truth about your financial life.
Okay.
A creativity audit is just looking at the raw data of your life to find the truth about your thinking.
Okay, so what does that evidence actually look like? If I'm not a painter or a musician, where am I looking for this creative data?
That is the key question. So Diasio argues we need to look in 4 sectors: educational, professional, social, and recreational. We almost always only look at recreational or hobbies.
Right, the fun stuff.
But the gold is often sitting right there in the professional sector.
Okay, give me an example.
Yeah.
Because if I'm, say, an operations manager, I don't see a lot of art in my day-to-day.
Forget art, look for design. Did you reorganize a workflow because the old one was inefficient? That's creative design.
Okay.
Did you manage a crisis where 3 people called in sick, but you still hit the deadline by shuffling resources? That is creative problem solving.
So we're just redefining the metric. It's not, did I make something beautiful? It's more like, did I generate a novel solution to a problem?
Yes. The book calls creativity a fuzzy concept, and that's a feature, not a bug. It means you get to define it. The most important definition of creativity is the one that you can actually embody.
So if my definition is just solving annoyances at work, then suddenly I'm a creative person every single day.
Exactly. It shifts your whole identity.
That's powerful. But, even if I accept that, I feel like there's this huge barrier between having an idea and then actually voicing it.
Right. And that brings us to what the text identifies as the biggest killer of creativity: immediate judgment.
The book uses this courtroom analogy here that I actually really like.
It's so powerful. I mean, imagine a courtroom. In a fair trial, you have the prosecution, the defense, but the judge, the sentencing that comes at the end, it's called deferred judgment.
You have to hear all the evidence first.
You have to hear the evidence before you bang the gavel.
But inside our own heads, it's a total kangaroo court, isn't it?
Oh, completely. We are the judge, the jury, and the executioner, all within a split second. You have an idea like, we should change the weekly meeting format.
And immediately it's, the boss will hate it. It's too much effort. I'll look stupid.
Bang! Guilty. The idea is dead before it even took a breath.
So why do we do that? Is it just insecurity?
It's partly insecurity, sure, but it's also about efficiency. Our brains are literally wired to recognize patterns and reject outliers to save energy.
It was a survival mechanism.
It is, but in the creative process, that efficiency is fatal. The text really emphasizes that you have to separate the generation of ideas from the evaluation of ideas. They're two different gears. You can't drive forward and reverse at the same time.
So practically speaking, while I'm doing this audit of my thinking, I just need to catch myself reaching for that gavel.
Exactly. When you feel that instant no, just pause, defer judgment, let the idea live for, I don't know, 5 minutes. Ask, what if this was a good idea? How could it work? You can always kill it later.
Let it testify first.
Let it testify first.
That's hard, though, because even if I let the idea live, there's that nagging voice that says, okay, sure, you had an idea, but it's not exactly the theory of relativity. It's not real creativity.
Ugh, the big C trap. This is where the source material gives us my absolute favorite framework. The 4C model of creativity. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this.
I found this so helpful because it creates a ladder.
Yeah.
You know, it stops you from comparing your first step to someone else's finish line. So
Yeah.
walk us through the levels.
So at the bottom, and I don't mean bottom in a bad way, I mean foundational, you have mini C.
Mini C.
And mini C is interpretive, it's personal, it's the creativity involved in learning. So let's say you're learning a new language and you come up with a funny mnemonic device to remember a word. Is that going to change the world?
No.
But is it new and meaningful to you? Yes. That's mini C.
So that aha moment, when I finally figure out how to fix the wobbly leg on my coffee table with a folded up coaster.
That's bridging right into little c. Little c is everyday creativity. It has value to other people, but it's local.
Okay.
It's the home cook improvising a dinner with leftovers. It's the manager creating a spreadsheet macro that saves their team 2 hours a week. It's not famous, but it's functional, and it's creative.
And I'm guessing most of us live in little c, like 90% of the time.
We do, and
Yeah.
we should be proud of that. But the problem is we compare our little c to big C.
Because he's Einstein, big C is Picasso, the legends.
The legendary domain-altering genius, exactly.
Right. So I read a blog post, which is little c, and then I feel bad because I'm not Hemingway, who is big C.
And the model shows us you're skipping a massive, massive step. Pro C.
Professional creativity.
Right. Pro C is when you have mastered a domain enough to contribute to it professionally. You're not a legend, but you are an expert. You're a professional architect designing a solid building.
Or a research scientist publishing a paper.
Exactly. You cannot get to big C without going through Pro C.
Yeah.
And you can't get to Pro C without mastering little c.
That is incredibly liberating. It basically gives you permission to be a beginner. You don't have
Yeah.
to be a genius. You just have to move from mini to little to pro.
It democratizes the entire process. It proves that creativity is a developmental path, not a gift. It gives you a roadmap. Instead of saying, I need to be a genius, you just say, I need to move from amateur to professional.
Okay, so we've audited our lives. We're deferring judgment. We know where we are on the 4C ladder. Now, I want to get into the mechanics. How do we actually sharpen this skill? The book has this exercise called the 30 circles. And I'll be honest, when I first read the description, I thought, this is a game for kindergartners.
It looks like one. A sheet of paper, 30 blank circles. But it's actually a pretty sophisticated cognitive diagnostic tool.
I actually tried it before the show. It's humiliatingly difficult.
It is. The prompt is so simple. Turn as many of the 30 circles into recognizable objects as you can in 3 minutes. Go.
And the panic just sets in immediately. You know, you draw a smiley face, a sun, and a pizza, and then you just hit a wall. You stare at the paper and your brain just freezes.
That wall is what we're studying, because this simple exercise measures 2 distinct variables of ideation, fluency and flexibility.
Let's break those down, because that distinction is crucial for anyone who wants to be better at brainstorming.
Okay, so fluency is simply speed and volume. Did you fill all 30 circles, or did you stop at 12? In the creative economy, fluency matters. Quantity often leads to quality.
You have to purge the bad ideas to get to the good ones.
You do.
So if I just drew 30 identical smiley faces, I have high fluency.
You would have high fluency, but basically 0 flexibility. Flexibility is the variety of categories your mind can jump between.
Explain that.
Okay, so let's say you drew a basketball, a baseball, a soccer ball, and a coin. Those are all round objects. You are stuck in one mental category. Your brain is being lazy, it's staying in the round things lane.
That's exactly what happened to me. I did planets, Mars, Venus, Earth. I was just copying my own idea over and over.
That's what the book calls derivative thinking. You're deriving the next idea from the last one. High flexibility is when you break that pattern. You go from a basketball to a clock face, to a porthole on a submarine, to a human eye. You're jumping semantic categories.
And that's much harder. That requires a cognitive reset for every single circle.
It does, and this is where that deferred judgment we talked about comes back in. If you're judging your drawing skills or wondering if a porthole is a good enough idea, you'll slow down. Your fluency drops.
To fill the circles, you have to shut off the critic.
You have to accept the bad drawings just to get to the volume.
Okay, now here's the part of the deep dive that I think is going to be most valuable for our professional listeners. The book takes this little circle game and maps it directly onto career strategy.
This was the aha moment for me too, thinking about your career or your job search in terms of fluency and flexibility.
Okay, let's play this out. What does fluency look like in a job search?
Fluency is volume. It's the ability to generate options. Most people agonize over one dream job application for 2 weeks. They have very low fluency.
Right.
High fluency is getting your resume out there, networking with 20 people, exploring 50 different companies. It's understanding that opportunities are a numbers game.
It's avoiding the preciousness of that one perfect option. You're saying fill the circles with applications.
Exactly. Don't be precious. Be prolific. If you put all your emotional weight on one circle and that one doesn't work out, you're crushed. If you have 30 circles in play, you have momentum.
And flexibility. This one seems harder for professionals because we're so specialized.
It is harder. Flexibility is looking at your skills and seeing how many different circles they can fit into. Let's say you're a journalist. The derivative thinking is, I must find another job at a newspaper.
That's just drawing another baseball next to the first one.
Right. And if the newspaper industry is shrinking, you're in real trouble. High flexibility is saying, okay, I have research skills, interviewing skills, and synthesis skills. That fits in the newspaper circle. But it also fits into corporate communications. It fits into user experience researcher. It fits into podcast producer.
So instead of being a specialist in one industry, you become a specialist in a skill set that can travel across industries.
Yes. That versatility is your safety net. If you only have one circle, one industry, one role, you're fragile. If you have high flexibility, you are anti-fragile. You can pivot.
There's another layer to the 30 circles exercise that I found really, really provocative. The book mentions that some people, they break the rules.
Yes. So nowhere in the instructions does it say you must use each circle individually.
But we all just assume that. We assume the border of the circle is the limit.
Right. But the people with the highest creativity scores, they often combine circles. They turn 2 circles into the wheels of a bicycle. They turn 4 of them into a car. They ignore the white space between them.
We create a box that isn't really there. We assume rules that nobody ever wrote down.
And we do this in our careers constantly. We tell ourselves, I have to stay in this role for 2 years before I can get promoted. Who said that? I can't email the CEO directly. Is that a law of physics or is that just a cultural assumption?
I have to have a degree in X to do Y.
Exactly. The ultimate creative audit is looking at your career and asking, am I following a rule that doesn't actually exist?
That is a scary question to ask because if the answer is no, then you have no excuse for not moving.
Yeah.
It removes the safety of the constraint.
It puts the agency right back in your hands. And that's really the thesis of the whole book. Creativity isn't about being artsy, it's about agency.
It's about designing your own path.
It's about realizing that you can design your environment, you can design your workflow, you can design your career path, but you have to pick up the pen and draw the circles.
It all circles back, pun fully intended to the beginning. The creative person isn't a genetic trait. It's a person who decides to practice these skills.
It's a maintenance skill. I mean, you don't go to the gym once and say, I'm fit forever. You don't do one creativity audit and say, okay, I'm creative now. You have to constantly check your fluency, check your flexibility, and catch yourself when you start judging too early.
So for the listener who's wrapping up this deep dive, what's the immediate takeaway? They're probably not going to quit their jobs today. What do they do?
I would say just start with the audit, just for 1 week. Look at your boring tasks, your emails, your meetings, your commute, and ask yourself, is there a mini-C opportunity here?
A small change.
A small change. Can I redesign this process to make it better for me? Just start small. Prove to yourself that you are an operator who can change things.
I love that. I want to leave everyone with one final thought, kind of riffing on that rule-breaking idea.
Let's hear it.
We talked about assuming rules that aren't there. I want you to identify just one barrier in your professional life right now. Maybe it's a promotion you think you aren't ready for, or a project you think you can't start.
And ask yourself, is that a real brick wall? Or is it just a line on a piece of paper that you're afraid to cross?
Does the rule actually exist, or did you just put it there?
That's the deep dive.
Go draw some circles, audit your process, and we will see you next time.
Take care.